Remember, if you get caught up in a thought and get carried away, the first thing to do is simply relax. Then release grasping onto that thought and very gently return to observing the mind. Just one comment about the eyes before we take a tea break. So again, if you've not meditated with your eyes open before, and then in this practice having the eyes open, you may find this very uncomfortable. But as Almoz said, I think you'll quickly get used to meditating with the eyes open. So just have to develop the habit. Another thing is that often our eyes are our dominant sense faculty. And so what can happen here, particularly if we've not meditated with the eyes open before, in particularly this environment where there are other people and so forth, eyes open, maybe there's a bit of movement, and then of course the eyes sort of do this, move around everywhere. So if you find that your visual gaze is moving around everywhere, attracted by movement, then as a sort of temporary measure as a beginner to stop that, or help stop that, pick a point in front of you, perhaps on the floor, and use that as an anchor point to avoid that. But of course, in this practice, ideally we're not focusing on anything, but better to focus on one point than have the focus go all over the place. But if you're going to use that anchor, then eventually, of course, you'll need to let go of that and just rest your gaze. But it may be helpful in the beginning stages to avoid the visual gaze moving all around the place. And of course, also, when we go home, we can control the conditions around us. So particularly with the eyes open, I wouldn't recommend meditating where there's some movement around, because again, your visual gaze will be attracted by that. So, if you have a flickering candle or something, you'll just be attracted by that. So have it very still. And also, what can be very helpful, particularly as a beginner, is just have like a blank wall in front of you, so there's nothing to attract your attention. And then also, you can adjust the lighting. If you're the sort of person that more easily gets agitated, make it darker. If you naturally get more dull, more light. So we can adjust the lighting, and then also the elevation of our gaze. So again, if we are naturally getting dull, elevate your gaze. If we tend to get more agitated, lower the gaze. So these are things that we can adjust at home. But here, if you find your eyes are moving around a lot because there's movement, then maybe pick an anchor point. And again, with the eyes, we want to keep them relaxed. We're not straining the eyes, we're not trying to keep them open, we're not trying to deliberately unfocus. So just keep them nice and soft and relaxed, resting in your gaze in the space in front of you. Okay, so that's a little bit about the eyes. So time for a morning tea break. Let's have a tea break. When we come back, a little bit more about this in practice, and we'll go back to the practice in the next session.